Hey everyone. Today's project is going to be so super easy, quick, and fun. I am shocked about this. Have you ever tried this? I mean, I know there is fabric paper where you take tissue paper or uh, napkins and you use a mixture of water and like Elmer's glue to put it on your paper. Have you ever tried just using stick glue? It works. And I did this last night just to see. I have scratched and look, I even tried to pull a piece. It still won't. This wasn't attached to anything. So I thought maybe when I pulled it, it would pull the whole thing off, and it doesn't. I've scratched it. I've dug at it. It does not come off, and it is completely dry. Doesn't that look neat? That's just a napkin. And the paper, or I'm sorry, the fabric isn't muslin. I think it would look gorgeous on muslin, but I just happen to have some of this. Actually, I don't know what it is, but it was for like a tablecloth. So it's not super heavy, but it's not probably as thin as muslin. And I tea dyed it, and I just because it was here, I thought I'm going to try to do it on this, and it works wonderful. So as you can see though, because I've tea dyed this, you can see where I put the white napkin. And like I said, it does not peel up. And I'm trying. I'm digging and carrying on, and it's not peeling up. But let me show you real quick. After it dries like that, you can just take your ink of any kind. I think I've used, the first time, I used just vintage sepia that was the VersaFine. But to me, it was a little dark. So this time I'm using Stays On Saddle Brown because it's a little bit lighter. It's more like a, oh, I'm not sure what you would call it. Maybe a tea tone. And see, doesn't that look neat? But I also have some other kinds that I was going, and if I'd gotten it wetter, maybe it wouldn't be so white, but this is working just fine to color it like that. And on this one, I haven't colored it at all yet. But this might be a good place for those distress inks that were so light I wasn't crazy about them, like the burlap and different ones. Maybe try those on this and see how that works. But this color right here is working really well for this piece. See how pretty that is? It's covering it up pretty good. Yeah, I like that a whole lot. Now look, doesn't that look good? I've got it upside down, but it still looks good. And that would be beautiful on a cluster. But I mean, this would make even just a good pocket as big as this piece is. Kind of tore it here. That's okay. I always make my stuff ratty. I think I'll open it all the way up if I can. But maybe today we'll try both the tissue paper and the napkin. That's okay. It's not going to come all the way up, but that's okay. I always make my stuff look ratty anyway, so that's not going to matter. I hope my hands aren't too yellow. I've been making some onion skin dyed papers. Oh, they're so pretty too. They're turning out really good. Okay, so I'm going to try to find my tissue paper, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this tissue paper that has flowers on it. I got this for like to pack orders and stuff. But this I just got from Temu. I know a lot of you hate to hear that, but that's where I got it. And like I said, I got it to pack orders. So I was looking for something pretty and cheap, and here it is. So this is a little thicker than I was hoping it would be. But I'm just going to take my water pen, and you don't have to use one of these. I mean, you can just tear it or cut it or whatever. And you can get these, I'm told, at some Dollar Trees. Not at mine, but some of them have it. Let's see. Let's do. What do I want to put on here? Maybe something like this. And this may not be new. You have maybe already doing this. I'd never tried just stick glue before, believe it or not. I always used the liquid when I was making the fabric paper, and decided I wanted to see if the stick glue would work. I really didn't think it would hold enough. I thought it would just scratch right off. I was so surprised, pleasantly surprised that it worked. So I'm just peeling around where I put that water. And if you had a napkin that you were putting down that maybe was colored or whatever, you could always color, use a different color of your inks. You just play with this. I think this is so fun. It's wet, so it's wanting to stick to me. I'm trying to decide where I want to put it. I think maybe up the side would be good. And maybe I'll tear this right here and just run it along the top or something. Something like that. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to just take my stick glue, and I used the Uhu is what I used last night. I put a good amount, like I would if I was making a master board. Kind of spread it out with your finger or if you have one of those silicone things, that might work too. I'm just doing it the easy way. And then I'm going to put down my this is tissue paper, and rubbing it down. Now, see, I did that with my finger, but if this was napkin, I would have flipped it over and burnished it from the back side. That keeps it from tearing. It seems like when I do it from the front side on the napkin, I get too rough, even if it's paper, and I'll end up tearing it. So then I'm just going to put this other piece across the top here. Kind of mix it around again with my finger. And I think just lay it across there. So I'm going to do that. And just smooth it down. And then after it dries, we can always come back and, make that not look so white and stuff. And I don't think I got much glue right there, so I'm going to put a little piece. You could even use your burnishing tool and burnish from the back side if you wanted. Now, some of these pieces, I don't think I got very much glue, and that's okay, except that right there has some color in it. On the white part, I'm not going to really worry about it. I might try to, after it's dry, using my sander to get a little bit of it off, of the extra white, but we'll let that dry. And I wonder about that sander. Let's just try it a little bit here and see what happens on this one. It's still not coming off. Yeah, so it's going to be there. It's staying. I am able to get some off the fringes, but I thought maybe if I did that, it would help blend in the color a little bit better. And here's something cool. It actually looks like it's in the fabric. Can you see where it's doing the little squares of the fabric? It's like taking into that. It almost looks like it's printed on here, or part of the fabric. That's just really neat. I'm just really tickled with that. Okay, so there is the copy or the tissue paper, and I did the same thing on a napkin. I'll do a piece of napkin here if you want to see. I know that it's pretty self-explanatory. We do it just the same way, but I think I want to make a bigger piece, like on my, like to make a good sized pocket out of. Just going to look on this little journal, and see if this would be too big of a pocket. I think it will be. I think I need to make it a little bit smaller. I'm really not even sure where I would put another pocket. I've got so much happening in here. Yeah, I need to tear this in half. But it's really turning out pretty. And whether I meant to or not, it's probably going to be a gator mouth. But there's fabrics and lace. Isn't it pretty? Okay, so I think I'll cut this in two. And I'll make two pockets, two smaller pockets in that journal. All right, now let's get some of this napkin. This I already had, and I had already taken off the second ply, the white ply. Let's see what I want to put on here, though. Maybe something just down in a corner. So I think I'm going to use this one here. I like when things look like they're coming up out of the corner. Something like that might look pretty. This one has a really nice solid border on it. I could do something like that. I think I want to just put it on this piece. Whoops, look at that. I've got it everywhere now. I'm just barely doing it. I'm not rubbing as hard as I did with that tissue paper because it'll tear if you rub it from the front. So I'm just going to do it from the back. Kind of take my bone folder and rub both ways. That way the seam of the fabric will kind of soak it up. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so when it dries, we'll go over all these extra white parts and either sand it down, or if you got it wet enough, maybe that's what I need to get a little bit wetter, and those white parts will be seamless, because look over here. You can't hardly tell where the white is there. So maybe that's just what I just need to get a little bit wetter. I'm going to take my pen and I'm wetting it to the fabric. This is kind of like using a wet glue, isn't it? Doing it like that. Let's see how that works. Because now it's pretty much seamless. So if you don't want to mess with all the... Let's do it on this one too. If you don't want to mess with the getting out the wet glue and all that, just use your stick glue and your water pen. Or a brush with some water. You don't even need a water pen. Let's do one more. I don't know, I just really like when it comes off the edge. Isn't that silly? Let's do this edge piece right here. And then I think I'm going to take this little blue flower that's in the middle and put it on there too. Maybe even put a couple of these little green leaves. That would be cute, wouldn't it? Okay. Now, I think I want to go over this like I did with my little wet brush here. And we're kind of just making a wet glue. We'll see if that works. We know for sure just using the glue works. Now we're going to see if using it like a wet glue. We kind of made this up as we went along today. I have not tried this either. So that will be fun if it works, because that just looks so neat. And then you wouldn't have to worry about blending stuff in. Doesn't that look good? Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And then we could always stamp a word once it gets dry. So it doesn't take very long to dry, believe it or not. Now, last time I didn't use the wet glue, so I don't know, maybe that it might take just a little bit longer, but it's not going to take forever. I mean, this one's almost dry. So is this one. So it won't be very long, and we'll come back and see if that worked. So on these three, I did them differently than these. I used water to try to blend it in instead of ink. So these two are different than the ones I've done on camera, only because I added the water to try to smooth it down. And it may not work. I mean, when it dries, that white may just come back and be as visible as you please. I'm not sure, but we're going to see. All right, stay tuned and we'll be back. Well, these are dry now, but they really didn't stay blended in. You can see where they dried. You can see the napkin still. But I think wetting it did help some. But I mean, they're on there now. They're not coming off. They're really, really nice. I love how they look. So let's put some ink on them to blend them in a little bit better. I found a few here. I've got distress oxide, obviously, antique linen, the tea dye. I remember it's really light, and I never could match it to anything. And brush corduroy was the one I was thinking of, and gathered twigs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this cloth, just so I don't mess up my napkins. And I'm just going to kind of brush some on to see what matches the best. I thought maybe this brush corduroy, because see, it's pretty light. Maybe that would blend it. Ooh, that looks good. That's real close to that tea right now, that tea dye that's actually in it. Well, this is even lighter. Let's take a peek at that. I may have just found a purpose for this tea dye that I absolutely hate. I've never liked it on any paper, so that might work for this. Let's see what this antique linen looks like. That looks pretty. You really can't see it. And I think that's probably the point, right? So we might try some of that. I think the gathered twigs is going to be too dark. I don't think I want to try that. So let's try the tea dye and the antique linen and see which one kind of blends in the best. So I'm going to try this. This is the tea dye first. Okay, it blended it really well, but I'm wondering if I could take my sander and maybe get rid of some of that white, where there's not so much around it that I need to color. I hope that makes sense. Because, like, I really didn't cut my napkin close, so there's a lot of white part of napkin. Okay, so I've got rid of the extra pretty much. Now I'm going to go over it with some of the brushed, or the tea dye, and see what that looks like. Wow. I hope you can see it. It looks really, really good. It really does. And again, I don't think you could pick it off. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't think it's going to come off. So let's add a little bit of the brush corduroy too, just to see. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking this brush corduroy is better. And maybe you just blend the colors that you have. You know what I mean? Because when you tea dye something, it's not a, see this, it's not a constant color. So maybe that's what I need to do. Just kind of blend around. I really think the tea dye is better than the brush corduroy though. And that linen, that works good too. Yeah, Either one would really work well. I really like that. That looks real nice. Okay, let's try one of these other ones. I think before I do that, I'm going to use my sander again and rough up what I can. Like to get any extra off, maybe. I don't think I can. I can't pick it off. It's not really wanting to rub off either. I thought maybe because, you know, it was really white, maybe I hadn't got enough glue. Yeah, there's a piece. It's coming up. But it didn't help. So the step with wetting it after you glue it, don't bother with that because that did not help. That didn't make it. I thought maybe it would make it where you couldn't see the white when it dried, but you still can. But I would just take a file or something small where you can get in those crevices and work that extra napkin off. And then take, I am liking that antique linen, but I still think my favorite, believe it or not, is the tea dye, which tickles me because I don't like this tea dye for anything else. I mean, I've never had really good luck with it on paper. Maybe I would have been better to glue it to fabric that was not tea dyed. Maybe it wouldn't show up as much, you know what I mean? That might have been a better way to do it. I don't know. I do like it, but I can still see where the napkin is on that one. Not this other one. It's really blended in, but this one, you can really see it still. It feels like, and I think this will lose a lot of people trying it, is it kind of feels like a sticker. I mean, it feels like vinyl when it's dry. But, you know, it's kind of along, well, look, I've wore a hole in that. Ooh, I like that. It's kind of like when you do the, I mean, it's the same, feels about the same as if you actually done fabric paper, you know, where you take the whole napkin and of course this was the tissue paper. So maybe that's why it's so hard to make it non-visible, that it was thicker to begin with. And it has the vinyl feel. These napkins really don't feel like that. A little bit, maybe, yeah, a little bit. But you can really feel and see the texture of the fabric through that napkin. Can you on these? Not as much. Not as much on the fabric, on the tissue paper. I was going to try maybe some darker, the vintage photo, and see what kind of a look I got. Or here, let's go with gathered twigs. Wonder if that's too dark. Nope, that actually is working well. Trying to get it just on the sticker, or well, it's not a sticker, the napkin. And it actually is blending in quite well. I love it though. I think it really does look like an old piece of fabric, especially with that hole in it. Isn't that going to be neat for a pocket? I like that. I'll keep working with the color of the nap, you know, to blend it in. But I do like that. And I will say the napkin blends in a lot better than the tissue paper. Tissue paper, I think, is just a little bit on the thick side to really fit into the cloth, I think. But I would suggest play with it. See how you can come up with, you know, to better match it. Maybe you'll find a way that, I mean, it just, you can't tell it at all. I do like going around the edges with this little sander, or even a fingernail file where you could be a little bit more precise than I am with just this sander because it's so round. But I do think that helps. Definitely. Oh my gosh, that really, you can't even hardly tell that one. Yeah, so that is how I would do it. I would, first off, I wouldn't put much extra of the napkin if I could help it. I wouldn't use, probably wouldn't use tissue paper unless it was a lot thinner than what I have. And I would put down my glue stick, put down your napkin, let it dry. Then when it's dry, I would take a sander, go around the edges just a little bit, and then come back with some distress ink and blend it back in where you sanded. I know that sounds like a lot of steps, but really this was super easy to do. And it's one of those little things that you could make a whole bunch, just set them aside, let them dry. And really, I mean, as short as this video is really how much time, other than letting the napkin dry, that's really how much time it took. Only thing I would have probably sped up is me sanding so that you didn't have to hear that. But I promise you, it really didn't take that long. And I'm okay with the tissue paper. I'm going to use this. I feel like I want to do something to make the white of the tissue paper not stand out as much, but I'm not exactly sure what I will do for that, other than, you know, maybe just keep sanding and then re-inking or whatever. I still like it. I think it really does look like a vintage, and this might be a or an old tablecloth. I don't know. I tea-dyed it, so it's really hard to tell. But there it is. I hope you like these. I really like the tear. It makes me think when I put it on, I might tear a little hole in some of these so that they, maybe I'll tear this one a little bit. Yes, or at least put snags in it where you can, that is, I love that. I love the tears. I do. I think that adds to it. Definitely love the tears. All right, I hope you guys will give this a try and see if you like this better than using the whole wet glue, you know, the whole decoupage thing. I think it's definitely quicker because your material isn't all wet. All you're waiting on to dry is whatever you've glued down. I think this is wonderful. I really hope you like it. I hope you give it a try. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.